Huh? Welcome to Hey EW. I am RJ City, and my guest is Glacier. Hey! Look, we don't have the budget, but you know, huh? Look out! Here we go. I got some ice. Hello.
All right, is that the economy version of my entrance, I guess?
I'm trying, you know, times are tough.
All right.
I'm trying to cut back a little. It's great to see you.
Thank you, RJ. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me on as a guest.
Yeah. What's your stance on global warming?
Well, come on. I mean, I'm Glacier, so as far as I'm concerned, blood's got to run cold forever.
Right. Okay. See, you would be a nice spokesman. Save the environment. Save me. Maybe a nice little PSA for the kids at home.
Just remember, global warming, very real thing. So we got to save the environment. Blood runs cold.
I want to start recycling. You were born Ray Lloyd.
Yes.
In Brunswick, Georgia, to parents Harold, a commanding officer in the Georgia State Patrol.
Yes.
And Lois, who was at one time the highest-ranking female in the entire state.
Yes, for the State Patrol, she was.
She worked for the driver's license division?
She did. And when she retired, she was the first woman to ever be lieutenant. And when she retired, she was the highest-ranking woman in the state. Yes, she was.
So your family just really loved the rules?
Yes, tough gal.
Yeah.
Tough gal, yes.
And you chose this wildlife as a form of rebellion?
Yeah, I figured this is a lot safer than law enforcement.
That makes sense. And you have a fraternal twin brother.
I do.
He looks nothing like you?
Nothing like me.
He's just like a short Asian woman?
Not quite.
Okay.
But he actually followed in my parents' footsteps, became a Georgia State Trooper as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're just ashamed of you?
Yes, yes. I'm just kind of like the one who decided to venture out, like you said, away from law enforcement.
Yeah. You went to Brunswick High School.
I did, yeah.
You played offensive tackle.
I did, yeah.
What are some offensive things you would do that would offend people?
Well, actually, the story was I actually played center up until third game of my senior year. And my high school football coach, who was someone I really admired very much, came to me, and our tackle quit. Offensive tackle quit. And I was getting recruited as a center for college. And he said, look, I want to move you to tackle. And he said, you know, this is a team sport, not an individual sport. So I moved to tackle and actually became the first All-State player ever from my high school as a tackle starting the third game of the season.
Huh.
Yeah.
But that wasn't enough for you.
No.
Because at the age of 14, you took up a form of Kung Fu known as Hung Ga.
I did, yes.
And is it true that it was taught to you by two men that you've never revealed the identity of?
No.
That was all.
I will say this.
Okay.
I will say this, yes. They were both father figures to me, men I still talk to this day. One is getting ready to actually just turned 84, and I still wouldn't mess with either one of them.
Right.
So, yeah.
Is it true that one of them had the Miami Vice show based on their life?
Well, that also gets a little kind of stretched out.
So these two men are liars, and they tell you everything.
No, actually one, Bob Nesky, actually did serve on the police force in Miami. And a lot of the stories that where Miami Vice episodes were taken from were from stories, original things with the law enforcement in Miami. And so some of that actually did come from some of his experiences.
But he didn't wear the pastel and he didn't roll up the sleeves. That's a shame.
To do that. No,
I'm not interested then. You joined the World Karate Association.
Yes.
You became the U.S. Southern Super Heavyweight Champion?
I did, because I was playing college football at the time. And so super heavyweight was kind of just where I fell.
Yeah. You were never knocked out or knocked down, and you were only disqualified once for stalling.
Yes, which stalling was basically saying that I was doing too many low kicks. So in order to stall to get to later rounds, which I vehemently denied. I was not doing that.
So you protest that loss.
I protest that loss.
Good.
I protest that loss.
Go on record. Then the World Karate Association changed the rules from kicks from the waist up to kicks from the knee up.
Right.
And you said
Yes, I did. Well, my coaches basically said that.
Yes.
I was on scholarship playing college football, and from the waist up, I could get away with saying, hey, I was doing that in the off season. Once it got to where it was knees up, where I might get a knee injury, and I was on scholarship, then it was a smart idea to walk away from it.
Yeah,
but,
you said you want to protect your knees,
that's right.
and then you decided to become a professional wrestler. Right, not really the wisest. You were trained under Fred Avery and Mr. Wrestling 2.
Fred Avery actually broke in with Fred, and then actually Mr. Wrestling 2 was not a part of my original training, but I soon started working for Peach State Wrestling in Georgia, and I met Wrestling 2 and Bullet Bob Armstrong, Hall of Famer, and they just took me and my tag team partner, who was my former college teammate, under their wing. So so we early on we met them, and they really mentored us a lot. But Fred Avery and Rick Allen, who was Sandy Beach back in the day, were the ones who really trained me, brought me into wrestling.
Speaking of fun names, you began wrestling under the name Sugar Ray Lloyd.
That's right,
A name given to you by Tommy Rich.
Wildfire Tommy Rich.
Who sold you on it by saying you'd be the first white guy with the name.
He actually did. He actually did. And what can I say? He had me there. You know.
I don't know if it's a point of pride to be the first white guy to do anything.
You know what? When someone like Tommy Rich gives you a name like that, you just kind of go, all right, yes, sir.
And that's why you stuck with it forever.
Yes, and ironically, all the guys that knew me from that era, but pre-Glacier days, which was like the first 9 years of my career, a lot of them, including the Armstrong family, they still to this day refer to me as Sugar Ray when we see each other. Yeah,
just
which
to
is kind
remind
of cool.
you.
Just to remind me.
I understand.
Yes, so the outlandish name.
You also wrestled for the UWFi.
I did, yeah,
the
in Japan.
Japanese shoot-style promotion. You ever really somebody up?
You know what? I kicked and hit pretty hard sometimes, but I will say I got kicked and hit pretty hard as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I had to earn my stripes over there. I really did.
Yes. So then they fold. You come back. You're talking to your friend DDP.
Yes.
And he says, hey, Mr. Karate Face, you should meet another karate face, Eric Bischoff.
Yeah, yeah.
So he sets up a meeting.
Right.
You two talk for 3 hours straight?
We actually, a real quick recap of that is I had lunch with Dallas.
Yes.
And ironically, I wasn't doing a lot of martial arts stuff in my wrestling over in the States. And we were eating pizza, I'll never forget. And back when Dallas ate pizza, that wasn't gluten-free. But I said, hey, I'm thinking about putting some martial arts into my stuff in the ring. And he says, bro, that'd be great if you knew some of that stuff. But if you know Dallas, he didn't say stuff. He said something else. And I said, duty. Yeah, and I said, well, Dallas, I do. And I told him all this. He goes, well, you know, Bischoff's into all that stuff. I said, well, I didn't know that. So he says, give me all the details. He went back, told Bischoff. Bischoff said, all right after the holidays, I'll meet him for dinner, and we'll talk. And yes, it ended up being what I remember, close to a 3-hour meeting, and it didn't start off that way. It was just a casual meeting, but at the end of that, at dinner, I pressed Eric, I guess, enough, and he said, I want to pay you to disappear off the independent scene and sign you to a deal with
So he gave you money to just go off the grid, go into hiding.
For just a very little bit, yes.
And then he said, I got this idea for a character. He's a karate guy who likes ice.
Yeah.
And you said, all right, okay.
Yeah, in the very beginning, of course, we didn't really know where it was going to go.
Right.
And eventually, bit by bit, it formed into to Glacier, yeah.
Confirm or deny, the Glacier gimmick was originally offered to Rob Van Dam before it was offered to you. Do you know anything about this?
Rob told me that one time at a convention. I had never heard that, and I've seen an interview where Eric says that he doesn't remember that. But
Rob Van Dam's a liar. You can say it. It's okay, it's fine.
And all the like Eric explains it, and all the conversations probably early on, that might have been where someone considered that Rob. I'm glad Rob decided if he was offered not to take it, because very proud to be Glacier.
Yes.
Very proud to be.
And Glacier's backstory was what exactly?
That I was an American who had gone over to Japan to study with this master to further my study of martial arts, and I made a decision not to go into law enforcement like the rest of my family, and eventually I came back to the States, and it took all the martial arts training and for my love of pro wrestling, entered the world of pro wrestling, and brought the two together.
And you were cold.
I was ice cold, baby.
Really nice. So my understanding is there was potentially 150 names on a list.
Yes.
The cold names.
Yes.
And one of them was Stone Cold.
Ironically, Andre Freitas with AFX Studios, who was brought in to basically bring this concept to life from drawing board to finished product. He gave me a commemorative notebook after the whole process of having everything complete, and all the notes that had gone along the way. And actually, ironically, he gave me a final 10 list of the last 10 names that we had come down to. One was Glacier, one was Cryonic, and one happened to be Stone Cold, actually. Now, we all know that the right guy got the Stone Cold name. Let me just say that.
No, you could have ruined Steve Austin's life. You could have changed the Monday Night War. The course of history was in your hands.
I think a lot of people would have been mad at me if that would happen.
So, did they run these vignettes for you?
Yeah, forever.
Yes, forever, because you were supposed to debut at Bash of the Beach 1996.
Yes.
But the NWO was formed.
Right.
And they said, let's hold off on this for a second.
This little thing called the NWO happened.
And then you said, but what about me? Blood runs cold.
Well, yeah, my blood was going to run cold for a little bit longer before the audience got a chance to see it.
So they kept airing these vignettes
Yes,
for 2 more months.
Yes.
And then you finally make your debut
Yes.
to one of the most expensive entrances ever.
Yes.
It cost $500,000 to create.
Yes.
It cost $10,000 every time you did it, including 3 special technicians. And your gear, which you are wearing today, was in the neighborhood of $35,000.
Yes. And the entire $500,000 price tag was, as I understand, over a period of time. That's what it kind of came out to. But yes, as far as bringing in technicians that had never been done before, a traveling entrance like that.
Yeah.
And so it was a challenge. It was a
Why
challenge.
don't you just wear trunks and take the cash?
Listen. I promise you, as a young up-and-coming wrestler, I would have.
Yes. It was so expensive that it really only lasted for 3 shows before they were like, let's make some adjustments.
Yes. Well, what happened was, actually, I looked so much like, Sub-Zero.
Yes.
That basically, I remember Eric calling me into his office and basically said, we got to make some changes. This is too similar. So they pulled me off TV for a little bit. We went more with the blue and silver, which I stayed with ever since. And we made some adjustments because I basically said, well, look, Eric, the armor and everything is not from that.
Right.
And our entrance is what it is. And so I think if I just make some adjustments to what I wear in the ring to wrestle, we can move forward. And that worked.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And then when you wrestled in the early days, they kept your dark blue lighting on the ring while you wrestled. That must have been highly dangerous.
It was, but once again, it was a lot of this was stuff that had never been done before. So
but probably for good reason.
Right. Yeah. And it sounded good in theory, some of it. Like, hey, let's keep this light over the ring during this match. And obviously, it got to where it was a little hard to see what was going on. So we eventually got away from that.
You did do something I've never seen before or since.
Yeah.
You would do a splits and stand up from the splits.
Yeah.
I've never seen it attempted since. When was the last time you did that?
It's been a while, let's just say. But you know what? That was a move in one of the forms that I had been taught when I was a teenager. And it was a move that I thought was a really good move. Once again, it had never been seen in wrestling. So I said, but what made it so much of a challenge was doing it on a canvas that was, there was a lot of friction there. So yes, it was. I'm glad I was the one to do it, but it was extremely difficult to do.
Now your finishing move was a cryonic kick.
Yes.
It was a flying kick from the top rope, and then you changed it to a super kick.
Right.
And then when you didn't want to do that anymore, you changed it to the ice pick.
That's
it was
right.
a thumb spike. How's your thumb strength right now?
My thumb strength is quite good. It's
you want
very,
a thumb wrestle?
very good.
You want to give it a shot?
Hey, are you sure?
Come on.
No, I don't want to.
Come on, let's do a UWFi
I don't want to embarrass
thumb
you. I don't want to embarrass you, RJ. I have very good thumb strength.
I feel
very
big
good
leagues.
thumb strength.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. You went on an undefeated streak that lasted for nearly a year, but your first loss was to Buff Bagwell. I'm so sorry.
I know. Darn it. And Buff and I kind of came up together.
Yeah.
So, that made it even a tougher loss.
Yeah,
but it was one quick little tidbit about the name Glacier was it really came down to 2 final names, which Eric Bischoff wanted cryonic. And we all wanted Glacier. So the pitch was made to Eric, which he finally agreed with, is why don't we call the finishing move the cryonic kick? So that's how the name cryonic kick became for my finishing move. And we settled on Glacier, but that was the compromise.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then you injure your knee.
Yes.
You go away. Who is Coach Buzz Stern?
Coach Buzz Stern is a combination of so many of my teachers and coaches that I had over the years growing up and through college. And it was something that was, believe it or not, for a lot of reasons, I think because of all that previous experience, was something that I could snap into and snap out of very, very easily. It was just another layer of a personality that I actually had as a coach before, because sometimes when I was doing the independent scene forever, I was teaching school and coaching and then wrestling on the weekends and holidays and stuff. And so, it was just another layer of a personality that I felt like the world should see.
Yeah, it didn't last very long.
No, it didn't.
But
that's
it
the
was
world of wrestling.
memorable, and I'll tell you why.
Right.
Because you had those tight blue shorts
Yes,
on.
yes.
You know
what? And RJ, those shorts were so tight.
Yes.
I actually had to have the zipper stitched shut.
Wow. Wonder how much that entrance costs. Do you know what I'm saying? You then started Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling with Dusty Rhodes.
Well, I did not start it. Dusty started, yes. But
aided
Dusty,
him in the...
Dusty brought me along. Thank goodness. Dusty was my childhood wrestling hero.
Yeah.
So, and of course, we got to meet in WCW, but I never really got to do a whole lot of work with him. He produced all the Coach Buzz Stern videos, so that's
he
where
said,
we
tighten
really...
up those shorts.
Yeah. And so when he started TCW in 2000, I was still with WCW, but I was allowed to work with him in my off time. And it was the greatest experience of my life was those 3.5, 4 years with Dusty.
Give me some sage Dusty Rhodes advice.
Dusty, my favorite bit of advice Dusty ever gave me was, just because it was entertaining, was he said, whenever you're telling a wrestling story, you're always main event, and it was always sold out.
Excellent. Excellent.
And I remember Gerald Briscoe throwing something in when I told him that one time. He said, yeah, it was also for the title. I said, yes, so also for the title.
See, Greg, just a dynasty of lying. It's excellent. You're friends with Disco Inferno?
Oh, God,
How hard is that? You know, that must be difficult.
These days, it's very hard.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I haven't talked to Disco in quite a while. But
for the best, then.
Yeah, you know.
Disco, if you're watching this, send him a text. Kick it back off again. It'll be fun. You auditioned unsuccessfully for Walker, Texas Ranger. What went wrong?
Way back in the day. I believe, I think I was just, I was too big at the time. I don't think they were looking for someone who could, you know, play beside Chuck Norris. And they were looking for someone, I think, that wasn't as tall and as big as I was.
Yeah.
So,
However,
and I was just a young actor. And it might have had a little bit to do with it. Maybe my acting skills weren't up to par.
You did guest star in the season finale of Burn Notice.
I did.
And
I love that.
you played the role of German flight engineer in Indiana Jones's epic stunt spectacular at Disney MGM Orlando. You played a Nazi?
For a brief period of time, yes.
Yeah.
But a Disney version of a Nazi.
Right. So. Give me one of your lines. Did you have a big line?
No, you know, they're all German. I can't really remember what they were now. So,
you don't want to get canceled. It's fine.
Exactly,
it's okay. You now own Glacier, correct?
Yes, that's own it. So.
Why?
Why not? You know?
Fair enough.
Exactly. I mean, here I am. You know, I signed in January of '96. So, you know, I'm coming up on 30 years of being Glacier.
Yeah.
And it was just where I felt like, you know, if I could own the rights to it and be able to do what I want to with it, because I dearly, dearly love being Glacier.
Yes.
And I love the fact that there's been so many fans out there that have loved Glacier. And the ones who are the critics, thank you too, because it made me work harder. You know? And but yes, I'm very proud to be Glacier. I'm very proud to hopefully be able to take this and, you know, branch out some new areas with it now that I own it. So
yes. Yeah. Your last AEW match was the Casino Battle Royal 2021.
Yes.
You were eliminated by MJF.
Yes.
Are you satisfied if that was the last one? Will blood run cold once again?
Well, I would never be satisfied knowing that MJF eliminated me from anything.
Yeah.
You know, but that unfortunately did happen. But I was very, very honored to be a part of that Battle Royal, that first big show. But you know what? I'm going to just say this right now. Never say never, RJ.
It was good because it was the main event, and it was sold out, and it was for the title, which I think is great. All right, plug this movie, will you please?
Yes. Well, The Unbreakable Bunch is a movie that we just recently released in November. It's been out a couple months.
Listen to this plot. Go ahead.
This is, if you ever could take a story of the Magnificent Seven meets John Carpenter's They Live. Okay? So it's a story where a group of veteran wrestlers come together to go on a tour. They work with this promoter they all swore they'd never work for again.
So it's based in real life.
Yes, and the promoter is played by Adam Minovich, great actor if you're a Walking Dead fan. He played Carol's abusive husband on the first two series of Walking Dead.
Yes.
So a great actor. And also the parallel story that the viewer sees is there's a small Florida town where this alien presence is starting to take over.
Yes.
Eventually, on our day off, we stop off in this small town, and we end up finding out there about this alien presence. We end up standing with the town to take back the town.
Tell them who's in it. Tell them who's in it. It's you.
Man. My tag team partner, Ernest Miller. Ernest The Cat Miller.
Stan Hansen.
Stan Hansen. Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, well.
The living legend, Larry Zbyszko. Gangrel Dave Heath.
Meng.
And several. Anna Jay makes a great appearance in it.
Who cares about Anna Jay? Meng is in the movie. Meng is beating up aliens.
Meng is the one in the movie that is he is the I'd like to say star of the show.
Yeah.
And you get to see him do some great wrestling stuff.
Yes.
But you also get to see him pick up a couple guns and shoot some aliens, which is really cool.
Don't give everything away.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, baby, it's cold inside. But if you were melting and you had to say one more thing before you turned into a puddle of water, you know what I'm saying? What would it be?
Oh my gosh, RJ. I'd just say thank you, all you wrestling fans who have been there in my corner for all these years. And whether you came to a wrestling show, you came to see me or anyone else, just know that you coming and supporting us is what drives us to do what we do. So thank you, the wrestling fan.
Hoping for so much more. Ice?
Please, thank you. Pretty good.
It's fresh.